Hello, today I am going to show people how to create a simple vase or vase using a curve in Maya. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to create a curve, but I'm going to go into my side view and we're going to zoom in. So you can click on the space bar and then left mouse press inside the Maya button to change views. Or you can do what I did and you can go over to the toolbox over here on the left hand side and you can click, the panel layout has all four views. You could click in the panel that says side view and then you hit the space bar really fast. So those are the two different ways that you can get into the side view in your work window. Then we are going to create a curve. So you can either do an EP curve or a CV curve. Each one works. Now, I am going to click on the options box here simply because I don't know if my tool was reset. A lot of times I'll put it at one linear if I'm creating controls for a rig and I want a curve that actually curves. Okay, so we have our curve. So now what I'm going to do is I would like to make sure that my curve starts off snapped to one section of the grid. And to do that, I pressed the letter X. And if you go up here in your menu options, if you press X, you'll see that the little magnet with the tic-tac-toe board becomes blue. And so that means that you can either press that or you could just press X, which is the keyboard, to create your point snapped on the grid. All right, so now I'm just gonna play around with this. Oopsie, meant to press Alt. All right, so this is kind of the outline of a big vase. I'm gonna hit enter when I'm done. I'm gonna go into component mode and select some of these points and just better shape my curve. Now, maybe I want my curve to have like kind of a base like that. So actually maybe I want it to kind of go down. Well, now it looks kind of crunchy. It doesn't look great. How do I fix this curve so that I have more points on it? So what I could do is I can go back into object mode. I can go into, oh, we want to be in modeling mode and we want to be under curves. And what I want to do is rebuild curves, which is down here. It should be rebuild. So I'm going to click the options box. So by default, the number of spans is 4. Now I do want to see how many spans I currently have. So I'm going to go to display NURBS CVs. And that's going to show me the number that I have and if it increases or decreases. So I'm going to put, I don't know, 8. Oops. What did I do? Let's put 8. And apply. Okay, so it redistributed them in a way that is better for me. And I am going to now no longer show my CVs. I don't need to see them anymore, but I do need to go into component mode. So I'm going to go up like this. We're going to bring this down, right? I want a base. I want a base for my my vase. Yes. So here we go. So this is going to be my base. This is my vase. Now, the next thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that my pivot is where I want it to be. So if you hit D on the keyboard, you can move your pivot anywhere you want. I'm going to press X and I'm going to, and then D again, and I'm going to make it so my pivot is centered to the grid. It doesn't matter where right now to the grid. I just want it centered to the grid because I'm going to 360 my curve. I'm going to revolve it and it will create a 3D object based off of the curve. So I'm pressing my space bar down, and now I'm left mouse pressing. I'm going to go to perspective view. I'm going to hit F. F zooms in. Now I should go into object mode and hit F. All right, there we go. And now I'm going to go to curves and actually surfaces, revolve. And voila, here we have our surface. Looks great. Now I'm going to go over to my toolbox and I'm going to click, let's see, I don't want tool settings showing, so I'm going to close those for now. I wanted to go into my outliner. Now, it seems like my outliner was already open, so I didn't need to click that, that option. Really, all I just needed to hit was the perspective view. And I'm going to go back to my curve. So what happens when you create a 3D object based off of a curve is that 3D object now acts as a deformer, or the curve acts as a deformer. Anyway, this 3D object will deform based off of how you move the curve because it still has history on it. So I can bring in the curve's vertices, and as you can see, that's going to change how the curve, how the base is shaped, actually. If we hit 4 so we can see everything, you can see how I can see the vertices. So if this is a little too clipped, I'm hitting actually the arrow tools. Right now I'm hitting the side arrow tools, and that helps me move up and down the curve points. I hit 5 on my keyboard to see the shading, right? So I can bring this down. If I hit my arrows again, I can bring this down. Okay, so I have a pretty good vase. I think I want to go up here though. It might be a little narrower than I want. So I'm just gonna bring it out a bit. And then maybe I'll bring this. No, it's pretty good. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to look like a vase or vase. All right, so that's a pretty good vase. It's pretty easy to do. But it is something called a NURBS object. Okay, this is not a polygonal object, and it still has that curves deformer information on it. If I move the curve, it's going to move the vase. Here, let me show you. So if I physically move the curve, that's what it does to the vase. So we don't want that. So I'm going to select this vase, and I'm going to hit Edit, Delete by Type, History, and that history is going to go away. So now if I move the curve, it no longer affects the vase. I'm going to hit H and make my curve invisible so I don't see it anymore. And let's concentrate on this vase. How do I turn this into a polygonal object from a NURBS object? Okay, so what I need to do is go to the Modify menu, and I need to go to Convert. NURBS to polygons, options box. It's very important you hit the options box and not just convert NURBS to polys. Let's go to reset settings so you can see your default settings and how you need to change them. So right now, these are the default settings. I'm going to show you what happens if you just hit apply willy-nilly. This is what happens. You get a big old mess. We don't want that. So what we do want is a clean model that's all quads. So the first thing I'm going to do is under type, I'm going to change it to quads. But that's not enough. We have to go further. If you just hit apply to quads, what you get is still a big old mess. Okay, and as you can see, this is an n-gon. It's not quads. It forgot to create some of the spans in between where the base, the neck of the base is. So type quads. Tessellation method is general. So we want general. Now, this is where we can decide how high or low poly our vase is going to be once it's polygonal shape. The first thing I need to do is change the U type into V type, and there's a drop down here. We're going to change it to per span number of isoparms. If that's difficult to remember, just remember that with the drop down, you pick the third option down. So third option down, per span number of isoparms. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like if we do 1-to-1 in the U and V spans. So let's apply. So this object right here has the exact same amount of vertices or faces that the NURBS vase has, but you can see it's pretty blocky. So what we could do is we can play around with these settings, and that's why these settings are here. We could do number U2. Let's try that. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so that's getting a little bit better. We have something that's a little less blocky. Let's try 2 to 2. Oh. All right, go here. Did select 2. All right, there we go. And now you can see we have something that's actually pretty close to what our original vase was. But I do want to show you what it looks like to do 3 and 2 and 3 and 3, which were the default settings when you change it to type quads general per spade number isoparm. So this is what this one looks like, and we can go to shading, wireframe on shading, or you can hit Alt-5 to see the topology on everything. Now I think I don't really need my vase to be quite this high poly, so I can delete it. I don't want it this low poly, and this is okay, but it could be better. I really like this one, which I think was 2 to 2. And what I could do is I could bring it back to the center here by hitting 0, and voila. Now, here's the thing. Once again, a deformer was created. So if I move the original shape, it's going to move the polygonal model with it. If I grab one of the vertices here and move it, it's going to deform, it should deform it deforms my polygonal shape too. So I'm going to undo it. So what does that mean? That just means we need to delete that history again. So I'm going to go edit, delete by type, history, voila. All right, we can make this, we can make that invisible as well. Now to lay out UVs, usually if you go this route and you don't modify anything. Now in this case it's a vase, it needs to have some depth, so I would recommend selecting the edges and extruding them in, you know, maybe extruding them down and like capping the inside, unless you want the inside to be open, in which case you could just extrude the whole thing in or out to make it have depth. But right now it doesn't have any depth, so and it doesn't have a bottom, which is fine. If it's sitting on a table, it doesn't necessarily need a bottom. But if you are going to animate this, or a character is going to hold it and they're going to like pour water out of it, then you're absolutely going to have to get this depth and a bottom. All right, so we can go to UV editing, and we can go to UVs and double click them. So those are the UVs of this right now. And as you can see, the UVs are pretty good. We don't really need to do anything regarding them. Now you can go to unfold and you can optimize, and you get this. And then you just need to make it a little bit smaller so that it fits within the one-to-one space here. So here it is. These are the UVs. If I want, I can rotate them. If you hit J, you can rotate them incrementally. And now you have the UVs facing in the proper direction. Now I actually think the UVs looked better before. So I'm just going to do this. They were a little bit warped when I optimized them. But now I think they're looking okay. And we're done. All right, till next time. I'm Maya Andreasen. Bye-bye.